two Academy Award-winning actresses team up for a film with a lot of accolades, including Golden Globe nominations, an Oscar nomination for Best Original Screenplay, and was chosen by the American Film Institute as one of their top 10 movies of 2023. This critic, not quite so hot on it. Let's talk about May December. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new film May December. This was available in theaters very briefly, but is now on Netflix. And for all intents and purposes, really, it is a Netflix original movie. They just have to put them in theaters now for like a week or two for that Oscar consideration. And Oscars did consider it. It has a Best Original Screenplay nomination, so we'll see how that goes. And the two Academy Award-winning actresses at the center that I mentioned up top are Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman. So obviously a lot of star power here. Before we launch into the specifics, though, of this movie, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do movie and TV reviews here on the channel, and there's always a lot going on. I try to post something new just about every day, so please consider subscribing, hit that like button, comment below. All of that stuff, of course, helps the channel out. And I've been knocking out all of these Oscar nominated movies in the big categories. All 10 Best Picture nominees have review videos up now. Most of the acting nominations, their movies have videos up now. And this one, Best Original Screenplay, it's one of the last ones that I have to tackle here. And readily available on Netflix too, so one of the easiest ones to catch. I think that's why I waited so long. I was like, well, it'll always be there. And I went into this not really knowing a lot about it. I actually was a little bit thrown by the poster because Julianne Moore, Natalie Portman, very close in proximity on the poster, and this is directed by Todd Haynes, who is openly gay and has given us a lot of queer films over the years, including a great lesbian movie called Carol that got at least one Oscar nomination, I think, maybe two. And so I thought maybe it was something like that, but no, it turns out this is sort of loosely based on the Mary Kay Letourneau story from the 90s. If you remember that, she was a school teacher that, had an affair with, I think, a sixth grader. It's a seventh grader in this movie, but I think it was a sixth grader in real life, and she got pregnant, had the baby while she was in jail, and then they got married after the fact, and I think they're still married today. I could be wrong on that, but anyway, so this is sort of loosely based on that, and the Julianne Moore character is not named the same. That's why we're saying it's loosely based, but everybody just has first names here. Gracie is Julianne Moore's character, and Natalie Portman is an actress who is shadowing her for a film about this situation and about her life. So she plays Elizabeth, and we have Charles Melton here, who was Golden Globe nominated for his role as Joe Yu, and you may know him, or I know him at least, from Riverdale. He plays Reggie on the Riverdale series, which just wrapped, I think, last year. And both Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore were nominated at the Golden Globes as well for their performances. But here is the interesting part, and I guess, well, we'll get to the review portion in a second. So in any event, Natalie Portman's character, Elizabeth, is an actress that is shadowing Gracie and kind of, seeing what makes her tick and trying to get in her head about, what went down so many years ago at, in this version, it's a pet store where they both worked. And meanwhile, Charles Melton's character, Joe Yu, is sort of struggling with some issues of, the fact that he is in his mid-30s and is about to be an empty nester because the child they bore together is just about to graduate high school. And so there's actually twins in this movie. So some parallels, certainly, to the Mary Kay Letourneau stuff, but, it's definitely not a biopic by any means. But I think it was interesting to have them do it this way as a take decades after the fact, looking back on it, and having an actress that really was barely alive when it actually went down, and sort of going into that process of, okay, what went through this woman's head, what went through the guy's head, let's talk to her ex-husband. So it's more of like, let's have an investigative journalism moment here as an actress of what makes these people tick, what the situation was at the time. And there's a few things in the story that kind of veer off in directions I thought were a little odd. I don't know if I loved some of the choices here made by the writers and Todd Haynes as the director. But you can't deny that there are really three great performances in this movie. Of course, it's no shock Julianne Moore gives us a great performance. She won her Oscar for Still Alice. Natalie Portman, amazing as always. She won her Oscar for Black Swan. And Charles Melton, look, he's certainly an up-and-comer, but having a Golden Globe nomination now for this movie under his belt is nothing to shake a stick at. Maybe we will see some more exciting roles from him in the future. But I think his character is probably the most interesting in the entire movie. So, and for him to kind of, stand his ground against these two very, very, powerful women in the acting world. I mean, Julianne Moore can act circles around many, many people, and so can Natalie Portman. So the fact that he is really sharing that spotlight with them, and sometimes is even giving a more powerful performance in some scenes. That definitely is something. However, here is where the movie kind of goes asunder for me. And I already mentioned that the plot sort of takes some interesting twists, not necessarily twists, but it takes some different paths that I am not sure worked by the last sort of third of the movie, I guess. But like I said, it is interesting to have it as not just, okay, here's what happened, and then they had a trial, and then this woman went to jail, and then they got married afterwards. To have it be a look back by an actress perfecting a role, like, I thought that was an interesting way to do it. But the Golden Globe nominations, and look, I'm not going to fault the movie for what category the Golden Globes put it in, but this movie was up for Best Musical or Comedy. It's certainly not a musical. Is it a comedy? No, I don't think so at all. In fact, the Wikipedia page even says it's a drama. A lot of times they'll put like 2 or 3 different genres in there. Nope, it just says drama. I did not find the comedy in this, and you could say maybe that there's like a little bit of a campy nature to it, and this is where I sort of had my biggest issues with the movie, is that there are a couple of scenes where it does actually sort of enter like a campy zone, but it didn't go all the way with it, so there's no way I could call this a comedy film, even a dark comedy. I don't think so. And I know the Golden Globes, has put some oddball choices in that category in the past, like, The Martian, famously, or American Hustle. Those aren't really comedies. They had maybe a couple of jokes, but here, it didn't feel that way to me at all. Maybe in the right frame of mind, if you take this, a certain way, the whole movie maybe is like a campy, dark comedy kind of thing. But from me watching it, I didn't get that from it at all. So again, I'm not gonna put the movie on a lower tier just because the Golden Globes decided to call it a comedy. But there are those couple of scenes where I'm like, okay, is the intention of this scene to be campy? Because if so, it's not fitting with the rest of the tone of the film. And then that brings me to my other major issue, which is the score. Score is something that I think should, be great in the background. And you notice a really great score, a really powerful score. But I think you also notice a score that maybe is off a little bit. And that is this score. It seemed so old-fashioned and outdated. It seemed like a score from like an 80s horror movie. It just didn't jive at all with what I felt the tone of the movie was. And then I read up on it a little bit. So Marcelo Zarvos is the one who did the score. And apparently it is an adaptation and reorchestration of this 1971 movie called The Go-Between. Todd Haynes was playing the score for this movie, The Go-Between, on set to kind of, I don't know, get everybody in some sort of mood. And eventually everybody ended up loving it so much that the music director Zarvos sort of reinterpreted that score from that 70s movie, and even gave those people credit for the score, partial credit anyway, for writing it, because it's that similar, I guess. I don't know the go-between. I'm not familiar with it, but I could tell that the music seemed very old and very dated, which would have made more sense, I guess, if it felt like 90s, because that's when the affair happened. The movie itself is taking place in 2005 as we're looking back, but that's when the affair happened. But no, it's not. It seems like it's right out of like Friday the 13th Part 1 or something. It seems very like late 70s, early 80s horror. Just did not jibe with me at all. But that being said, look, I can recommend this movie. The performances alone are enough to pull it up. But to say that it's in the top 10 of the year, on AFI's list, I'm shocked about that. It has a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm a little shocked about that as well. I definitely am lower than that on it. I leave May December with a B minus, and really only because of these three great acting performances. I have a lot of problems, as I said, with some of the other portions of the movie. But all right, you can check it out now on Netflix if you so desire. Thank you for watching. Dan Reviews It. I'll see you next time. Bye.